Okay, so welcome to Faith and Calm, class number 135. I hope you can hear me clearly. There is some talking in the background. I hope you're not hearing that. Yeah, welcome. Happy day after Hanukkah. We just finished Hanukkah, the 8th night of Hanukkah. And so we're going to still bask in the light of the Hanukkah menorahs here and have a little bit of afterglow and take that into the rest of the year and for Faith and Calm. Suri's here, but she's off screen. But maybe somebody else is going to watch the recording when we get back home to Boston and put it up. I think Shlomo Judah has made the title for this about something about dealing with one's personal darkness. I think that I'm going to cover some of that subject. And first I'm going to start with the light. Here I was in Crown Heights. I got out of Marav at about after 5 o'clock. It was dark, it was pitch black, and it was cold. New York is cold. I don't know. To the wind with a 10-degree temperature, and then the wind chill must be very cold. And all of a sudden I walk out there and I'm walking up Kingston and I hear sound behind me and I go back to find out where's that music coming from. Hanukkah's over. And of course it's the side of 770 and there's a wedding going on. And so I sat there for a wedding for a little bit. And I said, wow, there's a kala, and there's a wedding, and I'm sure she doesn't care at all about the cold. She's not kvetching, she's not upset, she's probably just as happy. The darkness and the cold just doesn't affect you when you know that you're doing something very important and you've been waiting for a long time. So that was the inspiration for tonight's class. It's really the light of Hanukkah. The message of Hanukkah is about this idea which Rabbi Friedman captured very nicely. He said, every single Jewish holiday has a one-word message theme associated with it. And so the message of Passover, of course, is liberation, freedom. The message of Rosh Hashanah is tshuva. The message of Purim is celebration, happiness. Sukkot is happiness, whatever, but what is the message of Hanukkah? And he said in one word, it could be captured as optimism. No matter how dark it looks, how many the enemies there are, how many there are, how big they are, how powerful they are. It's what we say in the Al Nisim prayer that we say on Hanukkah. It says the many fell into the hands of the few, the mighty into the hands of the weak, the Zadim, the ones who willingly sin, fell into the hands of those who do mitzvahs. So because that was the story, it was a triumph of a few very dedicated people in the face of unbelievable odds. According to nature, they should have never won. Now, the way the Rebbe explains it, which I think is a good way to also kick off the idea, is he says that what is this idea of the Hanukkah candles? Because that is obviously the central piece of Hanukkah, of the Hanukkah story. And he says that the candles of Hanukkah are of course, why? So you raise your hand. If you're a kindergarten teacher or a first grade teacher, you can say, why do we do the candles? Because when the Jews came back after they won the war, they lit the menorah in the Beit HaMikdash, and the candles miraculously stayed on for 8 days. The Rebbe points out that if the rabbis enacted this, the Hanukkah menorah, as a remembrance of something that happened then you have to do it somewhat in the way that they did it then. Otherwise, you're just making up a new thing. It doesn't connect at all. And there's a lot of differences between the way they lit the candles in that time in the temple versus how we do it now. They did it inside the building. We do it outside. Preferably it's outside, like in Israel, outside on the street. It's done at night. They didn't do it at temple in the night. They did it during the daytime, in the late afternoon, but in daytime. We wait specifically until it's really black outside, and then we light the menorah. We light 8 candles. They lit 7 candles. It seems like a different thing that we're celebrating. We're not celebrating the event of Hanukkah. What's the answer? What's the reason that we do this? In one word, it is because the miracle of Hanukkah is primarily about a spiritual battle between the Jewish idea of what we do with God and what the Greeks wanted to do. The Greeks wanted us to say they didn't have any problem with Jews celebrating. They didn't have any problem with Jews having a religion. They didn't have any Jews having talking about God. But one thing about the Greeks was that they wanted everything brought down into a human, aesthetic, understandable experience. They celebrated everything in the human level, and they were good at it. They celebrated the arts, they celebrated music, they celebrated the body and sports, they celebrated all the physical things, and they liked it. And because it was human, it was wonderful, and it was holy, and it was religious to them. That's what made something worthwhile, is that it made sense and it felt good to the body, to the aesthetics, to the mind, to the human experience. Everything in Greek culture, and the Greek culture was very alive even after Alexander in the Middle East, and everything about it was talking up the idea of human beings. Even their gods were just bigger human beings. So everything was about being human. And they didn't like the fact that the Jews said, we're doing this because God told us to do it. It wasn't that there was a God. The Socrates God was okay for them. The Socrates God, who was some ethereal, abstract concept that created the world, and then he went off and he got involved in some other activities after he finished. That is an anathema to Judaism. The Jewish God is a God that is deeply involved and deeply concerned, and it matters every little thing that you do, every word of prayer that you do, every act that you do. He's listening, he cares. He's interested, and and he's got you got his full attention. Whatever you're doing in class in Torah, you're listening to a class, he is here, he is present, he is involved. They didn't like that at all. That was really stuck in their throat. So they wanted the Jews to lashkichem Toratecha, to forget the fact that Torah has anything to do with God. It wasn't Torah. They just said, just get this God business out of it. You're doing it because it's a nice cultural thing, like other people have nice cultural things. And that made the oil impure. That's what made the impure. They didn't destroy the menorah. They didn't get rid of the menorah. If they hated it, they would have gotten rid of it. No, they just wanted everything to be done with a touch of the Greek, with a touch of Hellenistic ideas. They wanted everything to be brought down and made rational and logical and appealing to the human. We're doing it because we're just another kind of religion, and we believe in interreligious dialogue and all the other kind of stuff. It's okay, but don't do it because it's something out of it's special. And that destroys everything, because it just brings everything down to a very materialistic physical world. That was the destruction of the Greek period of the Hashmonaim, and it destroyed the Jews in their own land. It destroyed it was devastating for the Jewish spirit, and therefore we lit the menorah because we wanted to tap into something higher, to a higher force beyond the natural, beyond the normal cycle, beyond what is the 7 days, the 7 candles. Natural is 7, 7 is natural. We had to get into the 8th. So we had to go to this higher level. I heard Rabbi Friedman, he was explaining it in a very unusual way. I'll give a brief idea of it because I don't go into the details of it. He actually compared to what happened to the Jews at the time of the Hashmonaim to the idea of trauma. Too bad that Amy's not here, because that is her subject, trauma. And he says there's 2 kinds of traumas. There's trauma that happens to a person because somebody hit you on the head or did something bad to you. And it's bad, but you get over it because that's their problem. It's not you. It's not internalized to you. A worse trauma is when it actually is something that actually goes inside of you, and you keep reliving it and experiencing it over and over again. And that kind of trauma is very difficult to get overcome. And he actually made the connection to that, to a woman getting raped. Interesting, a very strange comment, but he says that, that's because something that is very personal and very intimate and very much connected to one's personal feelings and emotions. was abused by somebody else, and therefore you lose the personal ownership of it. And from then on, whenever you try and have closeness in relationships, it has that overtone of what that terrible event. So you feel the terrible event, and you no longer own your own person, your body, and your own experience anymore, because every time you try and have an experience, it's infected by this foreign element. That's violation. The Jews at the time of Hanukkah were violated. They lost their purity, and they lost their unique connection to God, because it just became just another kind of activity like you do anything else. And therefore the Jews had to go beyond what they normally have, beyond their normal level, beyond what makes normal sense. And that's what the Hashmonaim did. That's what Mattatyahu and his sons did. And that's what the few banded Jews did. It made no sense. It made no logic. They went beyond nature. They went beyond any reason. They were even fighting their own fellow Jews who outnumbered them also, and had all the high power, and had the money, and had the academic credentials, and the newspapers, and all the other things behind them. They had the whole election process. Everything was in their control. And it wasn't in these few outside parochial hicks, from Iowa, whatever, from the outskirts of the country. They actually had the truth. And they said, you know what? Truth will always win. Darkness does not win. Darkness cannot overcome truth. Truth will eventually overcome darkness, because darkness is only a temporary thing that God puts in our way in order for us to bring a deeper level out. And when they acted with self-sacrifice beyond their normal level, they did bring down this 8th level, this power which is beyond the normal natural world, into this world, and darkness disappeared. And that is what we do when we light the Hanukkah candles. We actually illuminate the outside world. It is the only mitzvah we do in public, outside, because the message is for the darkness outside, for the secular world, for the non-Jewish world, and for the non-Jews who are involved in the non-Jewish world, to illuminate, to turn over, to turn that darkness into light. And you turn darkness into dark, because saying that darkness is really just God asking for a different way of connecting with him. So whenever anything impossible happens in your life, whenever something dark appears in your life, no, that class, that cheat in my class. I know, he's just a show off. You want to be part of the class too. Darkness is really an invitation for us to be able to see beyond the darkness, to see that the darkness really has no reality to itself, and it's only a cause for us to illuminate it. And when we do that, we actually overturn the darkness, and the darkness becomes part of the light. And that's what it means when we can light the Hanukkah menorah until Karlot Ragle Tardumai. So what does that mean? Literally, it means that you can light the Hanukkah menorah as long as somebody's out in the street. As long as there's wild people in the street of New York and so forth, they're out there and so forth, you can still light the menorah. But once everybody goes to bed, you can't. The deeper meaning of it is Tarmudai, the Rebbe explained, means rebels. Rebels, Meroda, from Lashon Meroda. Well, as long as those rebels are out there, they still need to be brought in. They need to be consumed. They need to be overturned. Not only do they have to be removed, but they can actually be illuminated. And that is the power of Hanukkah. That is the light of the Hanukkah menorah. That is the light of what we do when we light the menorah. That's what the power that we were given, the optimism that we were given in this time of season, is to be able to overturn, and to be able to transform, and to turn even what appears to us and all our logical human brains sees it's impossible, give up, it's not going to work. And the Hashmonaim and Maccabee and Mattatyahu and that bit of Maccabee inside of ourselves says, no, we're not going to give into that. We know that God is behind all of this. We know behind it all is God, is a loving God, a caring God. It's not the it's not the Greek God that doesn't doesn't really give a whatever about anything. He just does what he just says, have a good time and have some fun, and have a party and live today, and then tomorrow you go away. No, that's not it. We have a God. He cares about us. He wants us. He's listening to us. He's interested in us. And this is what we celebrate on Hanukkah. And it's a message that's positive for the whole world. The whole world is looking for something that's something beyond just a bunch of empty, meaningless experiences, is looking for something of deep, permanent value. And when we light the menorah and we play the music in the street and we eat the latkes and we tell the world about it, they're interested in this too, because this is a positive, most positive message you can give. It's the most optimistic message you can give. And with that, I'll turn over the class to Shalom Yeshua. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Oh. Hi, we're in a very different setting, not a very different setting, a slightly different setting. And, oh, where is your camera? Your camera must be on the bottom or on the, oh, it must be on the top. There it is. So, hi, everybody. Very good to see you. Before I begin, you look beautiful, all of you. And is there anything that anybody would like to say before I begin? Anybody? Oh, I'm turning it even more that way. Okay. So, so anyway, happy post Hanukkah. Hanukkah is only like a couple of 1 hour old, something like that. And Hanukkah is an amazing holiday. There's no secret why Hanukkah was placed last, because Hanukkah is the miracle that we have to. It's the holiday whose the understanding of that holiday has to burn itself into our consciousness, because it's the message that we in the latter part of Jewish history are going to need the most, almost the most of I dare say the most of any holiday. So I'm going to begin with the four things that I usually begin with. Number one, we're in an extraordinary time. And why do I say we're in an extraordinary time? Because the Lubavitch Rebbe said so. The Lubavitch Rebbe told us that we are in the unfolding of the redemption. And Lubavitch Rebbe hinted to us many times broadly that he is Mashiach. And he also told us that he told us that the grave has no dominion over Mashiach. So, and the reason I believe the Rebbe is, first of all, I learned the Rebbe's stuff, and the Rebbe stuff is so gorgeous, it's unbelievable. But also, I don't know of anybody who has greater credibility than the Rebbe. I don't know of anybody who has a greater track record of wild things that they say that came true. So, so anyway, the second thing, we're in an extraordinary time. Number two, our souls were handpicked to be in this time. Each one of us, you and I, we were handpicked to be at this amazing juncture in human history. Number three, we were given all the tools that we need to navigate this time. We were given the Torah, which is our guidebook, and we were given the mitzvahs, which are our power tools. And number four, what we're doing tonight actively advances the cause of the redemption. The Rebbe said there's no faster way to speed it up than by learning about it. So the topic for tonight is dealing with personal darkness. So Hanukkah is about light and dark. You know, the time of Hanukkah was extraordinarily dark. And it was extraordinarily dark, and the Jews made it a time of light. The Jews made it possibly the favorite holiday of all time. Just one second, I'm going to get some water. Cool. Okay. So it began extremely dark. It began with women being abused. It began with, you know, all the terrible edicts that the Greeks did. And it, as I said, it ended in light. I want to make this a personal talk more than a Hanukkah talk, because Yeskel Shimon talked a lot about Hanukkah and he did a great job. So I want to go on to what it means for us. So I would like to say that we all have darkness. Every single one of us has darkness. I don't know of a single Jew or Jewess who doesn't deal. I don't know of anybody who does not deal with darkness. Whether it's loneliness or diagnoses or infirmity or interpersonal meanness, that somebody's being very mean to you. We have it in multiple forms. And those people who look like they have it made in the shade, it's not true. They don't have it made in the shade. I will say that I think some people are maybe for whatever reason, some people are tested more often than others. Maybe, I'm not sure, but we all deal with it. We all deal with darkness. And you know, there's a lot of old expressions on how to deal with darkness. There's that famous thing, instead of telling Hashem how big your problems are, tell your problems how big Hashem is. And there's that cute little story about a father who was an atheist, and it bugged him that his kid believed in Hashem. And the father was so mad that one time he put a note under the kid's pillow, and the note said, Hashem is nowhere. And the kid woke up and he said, Daddy, I got a great note. Hashem left a note under my pillow. It says Hashem is now here. And anyway, so my favorite thing to realize is that Hashem is the author of darkness. Darkness comes from Hashem. Hashem is the author of darkness. When you have something in your life that is dark, it is not anything separate from Hashem. It is something that Hashem is giving you. It's actually a gift for you to push away. And the smarter you are, the more, you don't have to be smart. You just have to recognize that when we recognize that Hashem is everything, if there's darkness in my life, it is because Hashem has done this. And if Hashem has done this, it is good. Yeah, thank you, Hashem. And watch the darkness run away. When you do that, it happens all the time. As soon as you realize this is Hashem, and if it's not only is it Hashem, some people say it's Hashem, but then they don't think it's good. You can't stop there. You have to say this is Hashem, and if it's Hashem, it is good. And I'm excited about it, and I want it too. If this is what you want, this is what I want. And when that happens, I'm telling you that the darkness flees. It's an amazing thing. So, you know, I daven every morning, and I think it was just a couple mornings ago. It's something I've said like 100,000 times. I don't know how often I've said it. No, probably not that much. But you know, we say in the morning, we give a blessing, thanking Hashem for light, and we say, you know who you are, Hashem. You're Yotzer Or Uvora Choshech. You're the one who forms light, and you create darkness. We have it right there, the proof of it. Hashem is the one who creates darkness. And he announces himself as that. I am the one who creates darkness. And if I create it, just stick with me and you will see that it is good. And it's interesting that it only says Yotzer Or, maybe because light is the natural way for things to be. So Hashem simply shapes light, but darkness he has to create because it's an illusion. So as Haskell Shimon said so well, Hanukkah's lesson is optimism, because it was hugely dark. And it took a lot of brave people saying, I'm sorry, there is only one Hashem. They want us to live a different kind of life. But the life that we want to live, the Jewish life, is our purpose. It is why we're here. And Hashem is our lifeline. And if we cut ourselves off from Hashem, we've cut ourselves off from everything. So what is the remedy for darkness? The remedy for darkness is to look for the light. Just like on Hanukkah. By the way, before I forget to say it, does everybody know the little lights on Hanukkah are, does everybody know why they're so enchanting? Yeah?
Why they're so what?
Why they're so enchanting.
Oh.
Because it said that, okay, when Hashem first made the world, the first thing he said was, Vayihi Or, let there be light. And it was a magnificent light. It was a light of Hashem that came into the world. And then Hashem saw into the future that there would be people who didn't deserve such a magnificent light. And so what did Hashem do? He after the first 7 days, he withdrew that light, and he simply left the light of the sun and the moon. The original light was not the sun, it was not the moon. It was created on day one. It was there on day one. And the moon and the sun and the moon didn't come until day 4. It was a different light. It was a spectacular, holy light. And Hashem took it away because he knew there would be people who wouldn't deserve it. And he saved it for the time of Mashiach. And he saved it for the time of Mashiach. And there's only two places where it peaks out in our time, in human history. There was only, he let two peak holes that we can see that original light. One of them is in the Torah. When you learn the Torah, you see that light. That's why Torah is so tantalizing. And the second place is the lights on the Hanukkah menorah. Those are the original light that Hashem first created. And that's why everybody's crazy about them. Because that, if you know, you can stare at them. They're so delicious. So anyway, the antidote is to not only to recognize that darkness is Hashem, to proclaim that it's Hashem, and to proclaim that if it's you, Hashem, it is good, and therefore I want it too. That's the best thing. But also another thing is to look for the light, look for the miracles in your life. I have to say that everybody knows what the Yetzer Hara is. Hashem gave us two impulses. He gave us an impulse that wants to bind with him 24/7, the Yetzer Tov. That's the good inclination. He also gave us something called the Yetzer Hara, the negative inclination. And the Yetzer Hara's sole purpose, I would say its absolute sole purpose is to pull us away from Hashem. That is its job. And Hashem gave it that job because Hashem wants us to choose good. He doesn't want us to make it so obvious that it's all him. He wants us to choose him. Now, you'll ask Hashem when the time comes why he did this. But that's the reality of it. Hashem gave us this thing called the Yetzer Hara. And because we have a Yetzer Hara, it gives us the spectacular thing that it's our choice to choose God. Otherwise, everything would be so obvious. So Hashem made everything. He made the spectacular universe. He made everything. But we get to choose him. That's our strength, and that's our glory, and that's our victory. So, having said that, the Yetzer Hara is a salesman. He is totally a salesman. He knows you backwards and forwards. And if he sees a flicker of interest in something that he says, he's got you. If he sees a flicker of interest, if you take up the bait, he'll give you even more powerful bait, and then more powerful bait, and then more powerful bait, until all of a sudden you're saying, what is this that Hashem is doing to me? What is going on here? And he's opening a fissure between you and Hashem. That's his purpose. And our job in this world is to recognize, wait a minute, this is the Yetzer Hara. This is not, oh, Hashem did this to me and Hashem did that to me, and look, Hashem is not helping me here and Hashem is not helping me there. No, the trick is to recognize that if you have thoughts that are pulling you away from Hashem, the Yetzer is talking up a storm. So I want to, where did it go? I don't want to talk a lot tonight. I want to give you a couple of interesting things about the dreidel, since we just finished Hanukkah. So everybody knows the dreidel has 4 sides: Nun, Gimel, Hey, and Shin. In Israel, it's slightly different. Ours says Nun, Nes, Gadol, Haya, Sham. A big miracle happened there. In Israel, they have a slightly different dreidel that says Nes, Gadol, Haya, Po. So anyway, on Purim, maybe I'll tell you why the dreidel is different from the Grager. But I just want to say that these are not just random little letters. They have a tremendous significance. They stand for the 4 kingdoms that throughout different parts in world history, these kingdoms have tried to wipe out the Jewish people. The first was Nebuchadnezzar, who destroyed the first temple, and the next one is Gog, or Greece, which the Hanukkah story, they tried to not destroy the temple. They were fine with the temple. I mean, they made it dirty and all that stuff. They were fine with all the stuff. They wanted to simply destroy the Jews' connection to Hashem, destroy our connection to Hashem. The Hey stands for Haman, who wanted to wipe us out. And the Shin stands for Seir, which is, Seir is Rome. And Seir is we're still battling Seir. Seir is the final battle. So those letters, Nun, Shin, Gimel, Hey, also stand for the four things that these nations try to attack. Nefesh means they try to attack our soul. Guf, they try to attack our body. Shin, they try to pollute our mind. Greece, the Chanukah story, they try to pollute our mind. And the final thing is Hakol, the last nation. You can call it Seir or Esav, whatever you want to call it. He tries to get all of those things, all three of those things. He tries to destroy us physically, mentally, and our soul as well. So I want to say one more thing. In my first grade, they're all crazy about. I teach them something called gematria. Each Hebrew letter has a numerical value. I'm not going to go into it. It's a science of its own. But if you add up the letters, Nun, which represents 50, and Shin, which represents 300, and Hey, which is 5, and Gimel, which is 3, you get to the number 358. And 358, Hebrew has this thing, every letter has a numerical value. It's the same, the letters of the dreidel add up to 358, and the gematria of Mashiach is also 358. Okay, that's interesting. But the other interesting thing is 358 is also the gematria of Nachash, the snake. So the snake, the primordial snake, who was the first Yetzer Hara in the world. So the dreidel is sort of telling us, you spin the dreidel, and there's two ways you can go in life. You can go with a nachash, you can be led astray from Hashem, and that's it. That's the path of death. Or you can go to the direction of Mashiach, which is clinging to Hashem through thick and thin. And I'm going to just give you one more fun fact about sufganiyot. Since we talked about dreidels, we can talk about donuts. So in Eretz Yisrael, in the 8 days of Chanukah, roughly 24 million sufganiyot are eaten, and the Israelis that means the Israelis consume roughly 10.8 billion calories in donuts. And anyway, we should have that many mitzvahs, and I'm going to keep it short. And I'm grateful to you all for joining. And does anybody have any questions?
I do, but maybe not recorded. Like not recorded. Yeah, I think I do.
Can you turn off the? Oh, I have to figure out. Let me turn off the recording. Just a second.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know where it is. Dan, how do I? No
rush. No rush.
Show me how to get the. Okay. Show me how to get. Where's? Oh, here it is. I got it. I'm not that technically. I'm getting more swift every day of my life. Just a second. I'm getting over here.
By the way, happy birthday. I was actually flying to another country. I was in St. Lucia.
Whoa.
Yes, it was like the mountain.